Welcome to the Secrets of Confident Women podcast, where you'll learn all the best tips, tricks, and practical techniques for building the confidence levels you've always wanted. With inspiring interviews, real-life examples, and game-changing insights, this podcast is for women who know that mastering the skill of confidence is one of the most important things they'll ever do.
Hello and welcome back to the Secrets of Confident Women podcast. I'm Jodie Clark from Rise Women, and we are thrilled that you are here today. We hope you've been enjoying these episodes as much as we love creating them. And before we get started today, I just want to quickly say a really big thank you to everyone who's liked and shared and commented and subscribed or reviewed our podcast. Anastasia and I are just so excited every time we get any sort of feedback about this podcast. And every little thing you do as listeners gets us one step closer to our end goal, which is to make confidence every woman's new normal. And as always, I'm so happy that Anastasia has joined us on the podcast today to share her experience and insights with us. So welcome, Anastasia.
Hi, everyone. I'm so happy to be back here. I love doing these podcasts.
I know.
So great.
And we haven't done one together for a while.
No,
We've been
it has
doing
been a while.
so many interviews, which has just been, oh my goodness, the feedback and inspiration has just been
We love
amazing
talking
on
to so many different women, don't we?
so many different topics. But anyway, it's good.
Yes.
But today's topic is one that we've actually had lots of requests for.
Yes,
and
we
it's
have.
a topic that, look, it's a really integral part of any one-to-one coaching that I do. So today we'll be talking about 4 techniques that you can use to stay motivated and on track to whenever you're starting to implement any sort of action towards your goals that you want to achieve, no matter how big or small they might be. These techniques will apply to them all of them. So we often speak with women who really struggle with staying confident whilst dealing with change. They lose motivation and focus, and then it really takes something to get it back. And I see it all the time with my coaching clients and the women in our course. They know they want to make a change or achieve something. They're ready for it and they get started. But then they lose all momentum when things get difficult or overwhelming as they do, or they're just not seeing the results fast enough. Well, the first thing I want to be really clear on is this. The lack of motivation and the loss of focus is totally normal. We all experience it, and it's really not unique to you if you do also feel this way when you're heading towards your goals. The difference between the people who let it stop them and the people who continue to just get things done is that they have learned tips, tricks, and techniques to manage it and move past this, feeling or lack of motivation and just get back into action.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's actually got nothing to do with whether you're feeling it or not, right?
Nothing.
It's how you deal with it.
Absolutely.
So the women who can move through this slow period are the ones who have a system in place, basically, and techniques that they can call on to manage a lack of motivation and a lack of focus. And more importantly, they know to expect it.
Yeah.
So they're actually not shocked when they start to experience these feelings. They don't take it as a personal failing.
No.
It's part of the system, and part of the system that they then have to put into place is to anticipate these moments of low motivation and low focus and recognize them as being part of the process.
Mm-hmm.
And once they've accepted that these periods really are part of the process, then they're less likely to allow them to stop them in their tracks because they're actually ready for them, right?
Yeah,
They know they're coming, they're prepared to deal with it, they know what they have to do to move past it. And then once they recognize that, then they can move on.
Yeah, absolutely. That's right. And, this is the key to moving through these times of low motivation, no inspiration as we get, and a lack of focus. But, there are also a few really great techniques that you can put into action and into place to specifically deal with these moments. And that's what we're talking about today.
Yep.
As you said, if you're anticipating them and expect them just to be as part of the process, then having these tools and techniques ready to go or built into the process makes it so much more easier to deal with when they do come up.
Well, you're equipped, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what to do. You're not left kind of floundering and trying to figure out how to manage it
No.
on the spot, because
No.
when you're in overwhelm, you're less likely to think clearly.
Yeah, or thinking there's something wrong.
Yeah, exactly.
There's never
Whereas
anything
if
wrong.
you're prepared, no, there isn't.
No.
And if you're prepared and you know it's coming, then you can call on these techniques because you recognize it and you literally go, oh, here's that, moment of I can see my motivation is going right. What do I need to do to get it back?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So to start with, my first trick to staying motivated and on track, and I'll tell you, probably the most important one,
Absolutely.
is to create some sort of accountability. Like, you need an accountability system if you really want to stay on track, because we know we all tend to give ourselves loopholes and escape routes whenever change starts to take place and the going gets tough.
Yeah, those tunnel systems that we create
I
underground.
know.
To go, oh, there's an out, and then we take it if
taking
we can.
the out, taking the excuses. It's so much easier to reword your goal or convince yourself that you really didn't want to do it in the first place.
Yeah.
If you have no one to be accountable to. Accountability is the key and changes everything, because once you say something out loud, it becomes real. And once you say something out loud and to someone else and have someone else to answer to, then that's when your motivation really kicks in. And, this is one of the reasons why the coaching relationship works so well, because it gives you an end goal to work towards, and you know that someone, as in your coach, will be there asking you about it every single session.
Yep.
So, I personally use this technique of accountability all the time, and that's actually how I lost a lot of weight. Oh my God, way back in 2001, I lost 15 kilos, and because nothing else was motivating me to get the weight off. I knew I had to make a change. I'd reached a real turning point and a frustration point in my life, but I was struggling with motivation and focus. And you know what? I had tried lots of things before that just hadn't really worked. And then I decided to join Weight Watchers, and I made a deal with myself not to leave until I received my lifetime member badge.
That's a big commitment.
I don't think they do
fancy.
lifetime member badges anymore, but they did in those days.
Do you still have one?
I've still got my badge. Absolutely.
Excellent.
Absolutely. I did, because I did get it.
Yeah.
But I made that deal with myself, and I built accountability into this process. So there was accountability that you had to get on the scale each week. I had to keep turning up, pay my weekly session fee or my weekly meeting fee, and I had to turn up. So there were weeks where I hadn't lost any weight or I'd been cheating the system a bit,
but you still had to rock up.
I had to rock up, and I made that was the deal I made with myself. I'm not leaving until I got that badge. So some weeks, sometimes many weeks in a row, I had to rock up, get on the scale, no weight loss, and I would have to say to myself, oh, well, you'll be back here next week to do the same thing, right?
Yep.
And, you go through plateaus. So, but how else I built accountability into this is I told people around me what I was doing, and I asked them to ask me how I was going with it when they saw me.
Fair enough.
Right? Another level of accountability, because I knew that it wasn't just a deal with myself.
Yeah.
I'd made a deal now with other people that I knew were going to ask me about how the process was going.
Well, I
when
guess
they
you have to
saw
answer
me.
those questions, right? So if they're saying how you're going, the last thing you want to say is really bad.
I've quit.
Yeah. You want to be able to say
That's
it's
right.
going great.
I've built another level of accountability, and I told them that my deal was that I wasn't leaving until I got the badge. So
Right.
I was really giving myself another level of accountability
And really clear end goals, right?
and really clear end goals. And let me tell you, that freaking badge took me 7 months to get, but it kept me focused on reaching that goal and kept me accountable to keep going until I achieved it. And I
fair
did.
enough.
I just was relentless, because I had got to that point in my life where I'm like, I don't want to be at this point anymore. Things were getting worse. And you know what? But actually doing it over the 7 months created a system which we're going to talk about soon as well, that I had over 7 months, I'd changed my whole eating life. I'd changed my whole way of eating, my whole exercise. I'd changed my life. It wasn't a short term,
and your mentality around things, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
So it worked, but it was definitely accountability that supported that.
Yeah,
that
no,
change.
I can second that. I mean, I have a similar story. I lost some weight a few years ago as well, and it is along the same lines, but of course it applies to any goal that you set your mind to. But I tried to do it 100 times on my own. You try different diets, you try different things. You go, my mindset is I'm going to have smoothies every morning. It just doesn't happen. And you always have the best intentions.
Because you wash up the smoothie thing four times and you're like, well, this is ridiculous.
Yes, this is boring. I don't want to do it anymore. But it wasn't actually until I joined a program where I was assigned a mentor.
Yeah.
That's when I actually made a positive change and achieved what I wanted, because they helped me keep on track, which was great. I had to touch base with them every single day. Every single morning, I had to touch base with this mentor. So the reality was I wasn't actually given the time or the space to lose motivation because my mentor had my back, but they were supporting me all the time, and I knew that I was accountable to them every step of the way. And it made such a difference because I didn't want to let her down, and I also didn't want to let myself down. I didn't want to have to report into her in the morning and say, nothing today, which sometimes I did. Sometimes I knew that I would report into them and say, I had no luck. Yesterday was a fail, whatever. But the fact that I knew I was going back tomorrow, one step at a time, made a big difference.
We didn't give up at that point just because there was a blip, a challenge or a blip on the horizon. It just kept you going.
Exactly. And
like
I stuck with our
scales
plan.
For 6 weeks at a time, losing no weight. It's
right.
Like,
it's demotivating.
Well, you're just going to come back next week.
Exactly. And if you know you have that accountability system in place, it changes everything.
It does.
I stuck with our plan because there was no way not to stick with it. And then as the wins start coming through, because you're being consistent and, the number on the scale starts dropping, my confidence starts increasing, then the motivation just exponentially grew because those wins is what, gets that motivation and that confidence to keep going.
Yeah. Absolutely. And you know what? You can build accountability into a goal in so many different ways. This is, as I said, this is a key part, apart from being in the coaching relationship and me asking. But, as part of the coaching process or when I'm working with clients, we always look at different levels of accountability and what systems they can create to keep themselves on track. So I worked with a client who was really trying to, she was in a business world, corporate world as part of it, worked in a business, and she really wanted to start stepping up and taking more leadership roles, but was waiting till she was ready, was waiting till this time when she thought she was ready. Yeah. So, which was probably the moment you think you're ready probably never really comes. You've sort of got to jump in a little bit before.
Yeah, because as women, we know we like to overthink things.
Yes,
so just when we think we're ready, something else pops in and goes, have you thought about this?
Yeah. So what she did was to build accountability was she went and told her manager that at the next monthly meeting, the team meeting, she wanted to present the monthly figures at the meeting. So again, she was waiting till she was ready, which was never going to come. Yeah. But the accountability of telling her boss that she would do it made her accountable. That
she didn't have a choice anymore.
That's right. But it got her into action and made sure that she stuck to what she'd said. She knew that at that, on that Tuesday in 3 weeks' time, she was presenting those figures.
You can't pull out anymore.
So which is, I sort of did that years ago too. I volunteered to do presentations to start, being a speaker. Yeah. I just put my hand up and volunteered to do presentations well before I felt ready to do them. But it was that accountability that I created by putting my hand up, and people said, yeah, you can speak at the next meeting or the next, this conference. We'd love you to come. Well, that made me get ready and into action, right? Yeah. So it's that level of accountability, sometimes putting yourself, sort of saying and committing to doing something. And
putting yourself out there.
Yeah, and knowing that you have to carry through with that.
Yeah.
I also had a client who got really stressed and overwhelmed. She was a sort of a catastrophe thinker, we call them. And, she always, we're trying to work on her mindset and help her change her thoughts, but she always would go to, in stressful situations, she'd always go to the worst case scenario.
Yeah.
And then she had to move house.
That's pretty
So
stressful.
we already established she knew this was going to be a real test on her.
Yeah.
So one of the accountability things she did was to actually, she told her husband what the work we'd been doing.
Yeah.
And told him that he could pull her up every time her emotions started getting out of control through this moving house process, which she knew was going to be a big challenge. She likes to be in control and, you know, all those sorts of things.
Yeah.
But, you know, it made a big difference to her. So after the fact that, you know, she moved house and survived and, you know, it all went well. But she said just the fact that she had told her husband increased her awareness around this and actually helped her put her own strategies into place before the emotions got out of hand.
Fair enough.
Like she just said it, just knowing that she'd given her husband permission to pull her up was enough to make her accountable for her own emotional response. So even
it's a way of keeping control of the situation,
right.
right? Because it's not him nagging at her going, calm down and relax.
Yeah,
Because no woman wants to be told to relax.
No,
That's when
no.
you go off the edge. But she'd taken control of the situation and just gone, when you see me getting to this point, I want you to help me do something about it. And the fact
Absolutely.
that she knew that he would helps her put into place these processes where she's thinking, I don't want to get to that point. I don't want to
that's
get to
right.
the point where he's calling me on this.
yes, absolutely.
Yeah, that's
but because
awesome.
somebody else knew in the world
Yep.
what she was committed to,
She made it real.
she made that accountability,
it.
made it real. And you know what? I personally knew that, you know, years ago, I would never really commit to building this business while I still had paid part-time work.
Yep.
So, you know,
I remember.
you remember this as one day I just decided to resign and it forced a level of accountability and focus on the business. So there's lots of different ways you can build in accountability to your goals. And one of the biggest ways is money.
Yep. Because we feel it. We
Money
really feel it.
makes a huge difference with the levels of accountability.
Yeah.
So I'll give you some examples. I was once at a seminar and a man explained that he decided he wanted to stop drinking alcohol, right?
Okay.
There was lots of a story behind that. It was not doing his life any good service now.
Right.
Causing problems, but he decided he was going to stop drinking alcohol.
Which is
like,
easy to do,
forever.
right? Until you
yeah.
find a beer in front of
That's
you when
right.
you're at the pub with your
Right.
mates.
So what he did to create accountability is he told every single one of his friends that he was giving up alcohol and that if they saw him with a drink of alcohol ever again, he would give them $1,000 and donate $4,000 to their favorite charity. Right?
That's got to hurt.
He
It's a
never touched a drop of
beer.
alcohol again. Well, at the point he was telling us about it, he hadn't.
Yeah.
Because he'd upped the stakes on what it meant to have a drink and he made himself financially accountable to his friends, right?
Yeah.
Now, if he'd said, I'll give you $1 and $5, well, maybe not, right? That's not
Doesn't
the stake.
hurt as much.
It's got to hurt, right?
Yeah.
It's got to be something that is going to make you up the cost of what it's going to, like, you know, so let's say if you want to give up chocolate, eating chocolate every night, and I have
give up chocolate.
I have thought about this, but I haven't actually made myself accountable yet.
Yeah, no.
Because I've thought about giving up chocolate after dinner
Do you really want to?
and then I think, I'm not going to tell anyone though, I'm just going to try and do it, never do. But I was thinking about this when I was preparing for this podcast. If I told my children that I would give them $50 each every time they saw me eating chocolate, I think that would be a big enough cost for me not to eat chocolate.
Yeah, because we know kids will hound you
Oh, they will.
until they get
They
that
will love it,
$50 note
right?
in their hand.
So if you want to do things like that, up the stakes.
Yeah.
With money, money will increase the cost, like literally,
Yep.
of you breaking your word so that the cost of doing it completely outweighs the benefit, right?
Yeah.
So these are, again, techniques you can do if you're ready to face it, committed to make accountability, and you will achieve your goals if the cost is big enough. Now, the other cost that you can create is also a level of social pain. So I don't know if you've heard about this, the story of the man that was addicted to soft drinks. Did you see this?
No.
So just recently, he created a TikTok video
Yeah.
stating to the world that he was going to give up fizzy drinks, as he called them, right?
Sure.
Soft drinks. He was drinking too much, he wasn't drinking fizzy mineral water, let me tell you about it.
Okay. It was Coke.
So each day he posted a video stating that he would not have any that he did not have any fizzy drinks that day,
Right.
and then how many days in total he'd gone without a drop of fizzy drinks. And he ended up having such a huge following on social media
Yeah.
that the social cost of disappointing everyone and having to say on his nightly video that he had he'd drunk a fizzy drink or a soft drink that day
Yeah.
was far greater than his desire to break his promise. So, social pain, even again, when you tell people, if you go onto Facebook and say, this is what we're doing and whatever, everyone knows, everyone's watching.
Yeah.
You create a level of social pain that you're going to break your word in front of these people. Now, you've got to be courageous to do some of these,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
I get that. I promise.
Yeah.
I don't have $50 to give both of my children every time I'm going to put a Malteser in my mouth. I promise you that. However, if I'm serious and I'm really going to take this on,
Yeah.
I know that there are ways to make it that I will not
Yeah.
I will not touch.
And I guess it's relative
that
to the
Malteser.
goal, right? And
Yeah.
and the importance of the goal in your life and how much it will cost you to not achieve that goal.
That's right.
There are some goals that are so much bigger than others, which means the cost will be so much bigger.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, I hadn't heard of this one, but I think it sounds like a really, really great way to create accountability. And I think the key is the fact that he did it one day at a time, right?
Yes.
So that's probably one of the main reasons why he was actually able to achieve this goal. I mean, imagine swearing off fizzy drinks for life. Like that is a massive call to make, to just wake up one day and say, I am never going to have another fizzy drink in my entire life.
Yeah, well, he was drinking liters of the stuff as well.
That's terrible.
It was,
but that's almost an addiction, right?
Yeah,
and a lot
it
of
is.
things that we do in our lives,
Yeah.
that the habits that we create and these pleasures that we have, they do almost become, maybe not serious addictions, but they do become something that we're used to doing.
yeah,
So swearing off something one day at a time is so much more achievable than, just cold turkey.
yeah,
And this actually leads us to our second technique on how to stay motivated and on track, which is you need to break your goals into smaller achievable parts so you can actually get wins on the board regularly.
yeah.
This one is so important, especially when sometimes our goals appear so large or so distant that they just seem unattainable, right? So say you want to lose 10 kilos or you want to save $10,000 or, I don't know, complete a project that you've been working on for ages. The end goal can seem pretty scary, and all the steps that you need to get there can just seem so overwhelming and so unachievable. And this is often where so many people's motivation and focus tends to disappear. You just get bogged down in all the detail and it's just too much.
Yeah.
There's too much to focus on. There are too many moving parts to be motivated about. And that's where you lose your way, right?
Yeah.
But if you break your goal down into smaller bite-sized chunks, then all of a sudden it's not as scary. And you're really more likely to experience wins and achievements regularly if the goals are smaller and just more attainable. Each small step, each small win will get you one step closer to your end goal. But the beauty of this process is by focusing only on the very next step and working on achieving that, you don't actually get overwhelmed by the big picture or the really large end goal. So one step at a time is actually what will get you there. And before you know it, your larger goal has been achieved and you kind of almost didn't see it coming because you did it bit by bit.
Absolutely. Like when we tried to, when we first started looking at building the ultimate confidence course for women, oh my God, I remember us sitting here for like a month going, holy
we didn't know
moly,
where to start.
Where do we start? Like we just kept doing flip chart paper
there was paper everywhere.
The flip chart paper started to get overwhelming because it was just like we just lost our way. But what we had to do, we just knew we had to turn the idea into a course. We had to break that down and stop looking at it as the big course that it was and the big project that it was.
Exactly.
And we just wrote, we mapped it out, and then we just would take one sheet of paper and write one video and then we had that. Remember, we had that sort of checklist on the whiteboard, and all of a sudden we just started ticking off, and then we ticked off one video, and then we ticked off 2 videos, and then we ticked off 3, and sure enough, out of the 24 videos that were the main part of the course,
we eventually got there. But it had to be one video at a time, because otherwise it was just going to be too much. It was too much. It was too much. And look, I do the same thing just in my daily life. There are some days where I just wake up and I go, oh my God, I have 1,000 things to do today. And just the thought of getting everything done completely demotivates me, and I just don't even know where to start. And if anyone knows me, I am a pen and paper kind of girl, which I have now converted. I've gone up in the world. Whiteboard.
Oh, have you?
Yeah, it's not even an interactive one. It's
Oh,
just
my
literally
goodness.
a whiteboard on my desk with a texter. But I will write a list. I always have lists. I have lists for my lists. Like I will create a list of everything I need to do in the house, and then I'll have a list for work, and I'll have a list for all different things, and then I prioritize my lists. But that's the only way I can get things done. If I have 20 things to do in the house, like literally washing, clean the kitchen, make the beds, mop, vacuum, check emails, whatever, I will literally write them down, because every time I do one and I can cross it off, it doesn't matter how big or small it is, it builds my motivation, because every time you cross something off a list, it's a win.
Yeah, for
right?
sure.
It's an achievement.
Yeah.
And if I've got 30 things to do that day, as I'm crossing off and I've got 10 done, I'm like, I'm a third of the way through my stuff.
Yeah.
And I just take one step at a time. I try not to get distracted, start one job and leave it in the middle and go to another. But that's what makes a difference for me. And there's something around accepting that, I think, and just creating that space and going, right, today I'm going to take it one step at a time. I'm going to keep my mindset in a positive place. My goal today is to get everything on this list done. And I know that I have to stay positive. I have to stay proactive. I'll play music. Really loud music all day and just go, well, if I've got to do this stuff, I don't want to mop. But if I have to mop, I'll put music on. I'll turn it into a party, right?
Yeah.
So I create a happy environment. This is like my, for people who know me, I will only iron with a glass of wine.
Yes.
I hate ironing. If I have to do it, there is going to be wine next to me, because then it's all right. If I'm drinking and ironing at the same time, it's okay that way, right? It's not as terrible.
Yeah.
And it's important to me, because I don't want to do these things. I've got better things to be doing. I could be lunching with friends. I could be recording podcasts. There's 1,000 things I'd rather be doing. But it is about creating a happy and positive environment to get stuff done. Yeah. Which, funnily enough, leads us to our third point, which is to constantly surround yourself with positive reinforcement. This is so important. Do what it takes to create that mindset where you're always in that kind of forward moving state, and you've always got that momentum. Listen to the right podcasts that inspire
like ours?
You. Yeah, totally.
Well, if they're hearing that, then they are.
So you've already done it. You're already on track, right? Listen to podcasts that give you tips and inspire you and are practical, and read the right books and the right kind of music. Use uplifting music. It does something to you to listen to the right music. Listening to, oh my God, I'm going to die, depressing music all day, that's not going to help put you in the right state of mind. If physical is your thing, walk the dog, get outside, sit in the sun for 5 minutes, get in touch with nature, exercise, whatever it takes to just create that environment, just to give yourself the best chance of success, I guess. And the flip side to this is you need to remove anything that doesn't give you the best chance of success from your environment, right? There are so many ways to do this, but you need to get all that negativity and toxicity out, like unsubscribe from all that crap that you're seeing in your social media posts, things that are not helping you be productive and positive and giving you momentum and motivation. Stay away from toxic people, please. Yes. I cannot stress this enough. I know some people, if they're people at work or family members that you cannot stay away from, you need to implement other techniques to kind of manage their time with you. But if you find yourself being surrounded by people who are always bringing you down, you need to really keep them at arm's length if you want to achieve your goals, right?
Well, this is it. It's all about achieving the life, or achieving the goals or the dreams or whatever, achieving and creating the life that you want to live, because it doesn't just turn up.
No, you have to make it happen.
It's very unlikely that it just turns up.
You've got to be intentional about it.
You have to be intentional. So but a lot of people sort of try to do these things, I think, with, being surrounded by maybe toxic people, or not even toxic, but just unmotivated people who aren't, as we always talk about, that they're not on the court of life. They're not playing the same game as us. So you've got to get around the people that are looking forward and achieving their goals, because that's what draws you into the possibility that you can achieve that, and you learn tips about how they do it, and those sorts of things. And they look like forward.
So many different types of people, right? Yeah. It's not always, if you want career success, you don't only have to look to people who are making positive moves in their career. It's about finding people who not only are positive and motivated in their own life, but who also support you, right?
Absolutely.
So they may not have the same goals and dreams as you do, but they're not also pulling you back,
No, and it's important that I always focus on, look, I'm in charge of my own positivity and motivation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like I'm in charge.
Yeah.
I have to make this work. It's not for someone else to motivate me. It's not for, it's up to me. So I have to build the system. I have to build what I need and be intentional about doing this for myself so that I can have the life that I want.
Yeah, no one else can do it for you.
Nobody else can do it
put
for
everything in place, people and resources and things around you to support you. But at the end of the day, the decision has to be yours.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You need to make the conscious effort and to make sure that you are set up for success every single time. You just can't keep, doing the things that don't work and expect a different outcome. And, which this leads me to our fourth technique is that you need to create a new support system around you.
Yeah.
To stay motivated on track towards your goals. Like you need a new system. Don't keep trying to do things that consistently don't work for you, right? It's just things are unlikely to be different.
Isn't that the definition of insanity?
Yeah, I think there's something around.
Keep doing the same things and expecting a different outcome. It doesn't happen.
But and myself included, so many times I fall into that because I think, oh, now I'll be more focused. Now I'll be more motivated. No, it needs something new. It needs a new system, a new structure, new rules, or some sort of new thinking around it. So, for example, I've recently joined the gym again.
Yay.
Because my chiropractor said, you need to join the gym again. Need to sort out my strength, fix my back, all those things.
Right.
Now, yes, I have joined the gym before on numerous occasions, and before it has not worked out for me, right? I get bored. I let my brain take over with negative thinking. I talk myself out of getting fit and I end up quitting. That is the usual system
I
that
think that's
we run.
a recurring theme for so many people, right?
It is, right?
Yeah.
So, is there any point? So I have to go and join the gym. I have to sort out my back and whatever. I have to build my strength. Is there any point to joining again if I do not have a new system built around this to support a new outcome?
Probably not.
No, there's absolutely, I'm going to waste my time, waste my money, waste everything because the probability is that the same boredom and the same negative thinking is going to happen, right? Look, I'm paying for a gym membership, but it creates a very tiny little bit of accountability, but not much, right?
Not enough to hurt.
Not enough to hurt.
Yeah.
Yes. There's that money thing again, right? Not enough to hurt. So I had to create a new support system for this process.
All right. So what does that look like?
So I committed to doing personal training sessions once a week. Now that helps with my accountability because I commit to being there for my session at that time each week.
Yeah.
And plus I'm paying more. So I've invested in reaching my goal. I've upped the stakes at the money level. So I'm more invested in reaching that goal.
It makes it into your calendar and into your diary.
Absolutely, because I've paid
at this day,
a lot
this
more.
time.
Yeah, I've paid a lot for it.
Yeah.
I also scheduled into my diary the 2 sessions a week that I have committed. So similar to like what I know worked for when I went to Weight Watchers.
Yeah. I
committed that I was going to stay turning up each week until I got my badge. Well, this time, so what I usually do is I say, oh my God, I'm so excited. Okay, I've joined a gym. I'm going to go 5 times a week and smash it out. Does that happen? Happens for the first week. Usually I'm too sore to stand, all those things that we all do. I can't commit to 5 days a week. Can't commit to that.
Doesn't fit into
I've
your
made
lifestyle.
it, like we just said, like you shared, smaller, achievable goal. I can do 2 weekly sessions in my diary. If I do 3, great.
Yeah.
I have to do 2.
But
That's
you
the
don't
rule.
feel like you failed if you don't do 5
I have
because
to,
your goal is 2.
correct.
Right.
There's no point doing 5 because I hurt myself, end up quitting the same thing. Again, new system.
Right.
So I've rescheduled. If I have to reschedule one of those sessions, that's fine because life is busy and things come up and all sorts of stuff. But I've committed to myself, I have to schedule in that session on another day in the week.
Fair
so
enough.
the rule is there must be 2 sessions. And now I've just told everyone globally, I will tell you that every
Check
time.
in on her,
So
everyone.
I've got accountability to global thing. You may message DM me and say, did you go to the gym twice this week?
Right. And out of 7 days, that is achievable.
Right. It's achievable.
It's not overwhelming.
Right. I'll let
Yeah.
you know how I go.
Okay.
However, But for the boredom thing, right?
Right.
So I couldn't work out how to deal with the boredom thing because I
Yeah.
get very bored at the gym.
Fair
Got to
enough.
say.
You're probably thinking there's a million other things you could be doing, right?
Oh, look, 10 or 15 minutes into that elliptical machine, I'm bored out of, like, I've got my music playing, but I'm bored. So
Yeah.
I had a friend tell me that the system she's created, right? And I think she's been going to the gym now for a couple of years. So it worked for her. And
Yeah.
I've tried it and I'm pretty happy to say I'm pretty impressed with this new system.
Okay.
So she made a deal with herself that she is only allowed to watch her Netflix shows when she's at the gym, right?
Right.
So I've got a list of shows that I want to watch on Netflix, which my husband is not interested in and my kids are not interested in.
Right.
And I'm not getting to them because life is too busy and I don't want to, watch a lot of Netflix.
Fair enough.
So I really loved this idea. So I tried it last week and I loved it. So by the time I finished, so I got on the elliptical machine. By the time I'd finished my 36-minute episode, I'd finished 36 minutes on the elliptical machine.
Yeah.
And the time went so fast. And I really think this is a new system that will work for me. So
Okay.
after we record this podcast today, this afternoon, I am going to the gym, which is in my diary.
And you get to watch an episode.
I am actually looking forward to watching the next episode of
Right.
this.
And you know what you can do to build an extra level of accountability in there? Tell your family, do not let me watch Netflix unless I'm at the gym.
Yeah, I don't have time. I just really don't. Well, usually because everyone else is on the Netflix.
Right. So even if you try to put your show
No,
on, they should be allowed to take the remote off and switch it off and go, you're not at the gym, so
No,
it
that's
doesn't
right.
count, right?
That's right. But this really worked for me. So it's
Yeah.
fine. Anyway, the point is I needed to find a new system
Yes.
to support this process and the other deal I've made with myself is this is going to be I'm going to do 3 months and then I'm going to reassess.
Right.
Right. So I'm not like I'm committing for the gym for the rest of my life. This is how no. Because
Too big.
That's too big.
Yeah.
I'm doing 3 months at a time. And actually what I want to share is I had a client who was doing the same thing. We worked out that her system, because she wanted to get fit and she was and it wasn't working, right? The system she had, she'd commit to doing some sort of training or whatever, and she'd get bored, all these different things. So we created a system for her that she knew herself as someone who changes her fitness activity every 3 months.
Right.
So she was getting bored and giving up. So instead of forcing herself to stay with the same exercise, hating every minute of it, we decided that her system,
Her new system
is that she changes every 3 months. So, she does outdoor training and she commits to that for 3 months.
Because it's a small goal. 3 months isn't that scary.
And she does that for summer because no one
Yeah.
wants to be doing outdoor training in the middle of winter,
No.
right? But anyway, so then she chooses maybe a dance class and then
Okay.
she swaps to do maybe a team sport or she signs up for touch football or something.
Yeah.
And then she changes it and does some swimming. So each 3 months, she is on the lookout for a new fitness program or activity to do.
And she doesn't give herself a chance to get bored of any of them.
No, because
Right.
the system works for her because it keeps her interested and it's shorter term outlook, which keeps her motivated because she knows even if at the end of the touch football thing, she's like, oh, I don't really want to go. She knows she's only got 2 sessions left or so
Yeah.
before she's changing again.
Right.
So it's a system with that particular client, and that's what I've built into this gym system. It's a system that works, right?
Yeah.
So there can be lots of other systems, and we've built lots of other systems in to help clients, etc., move forward.
Yeah.
Cutting up your credit card is a great support system.
I
if you
know,
need to
I've done it.
Stop spending.
Yeah.
So that's a system because
You've
it's
changed.
Yeah,
You've changed the process.
Yeah.
If you've got that credit card to tap every time you're making a purchase,
Yeah.
it's really hard to change that process
Yes.
until the credit card isn't there anymore. You've disrupted that process.
Yeah.
And you've created a new system. Yep.
Now I had another client who would book a day at a shared office space. And this was the day that she'd devote to her sales calls for her business, right? Because she was paying for the office, she felt more obligated to herself to be productive, right? So again, it's that money thing that came in.
The cost. Yeah.
But she also knew that being in that space made her feel she sort of felt more like a business.
Yeah.
And she was more productive because she sort of got up, got dressed, went to this office space. There was energy around. There was business people there doing business.
So she wanted to do business too. It's
That's
that
right.
mindset change.
Right.
Yeah.
But even just that one day a week that she devoted, she'd know that on a Tuesday, I think it was, that she was booked in. And then throughout the week, she wasn't like, oh, I've got to do those sales calls and hating it. She was like, no, that's happening on Tuesday.
Yeah.
Right.
And there's something about being in that environment, right? It's like going to the gym. You're more likely to get motivated while you're at the gym seeing other people doing gym stuff around you than you are to go, I'm going to do 100 star jumps at home.
Yeah,
No one can see it. Nobody
no,
cares.
No.
Yeah.
And I find the same. If I have to prepare for a presentation, as you know, I take myself off to the local coffee shop and I make myself sit there. The rule is I sit there until it's completed. Now, I turn off my phone. There's no Wi-Fi on my computer. I take away any distractions out of my home office, which there's plenty that can happen. Yeah. And I go and get my coffee and I allocate that time to just focus and get it done. And even that change of scenery helps me focus. So, that when I'm preparing for presentations, that is the system that I know works for me. I have to build that system in.
Disrupt the day-to-day process.
Absolutely.
Create a different,
but
environment
to achieve these goals, what support system do you need to put into place to keep yourself motivated and focused?
Yeah.
That's the question you need to ask as these tips to keep yourself focused on achieving the things that you want to achieve in your life.
Yeah,
right?
totally. And it can show up in so many different ways. It's not the same for everybody.
No.
Like we've said, losing motivation and focus isn't really the problem because it does happen to all of us and it happens all of the time.
Yeah.
But you need to be ready for it and you need to have a plan in place and techniques that you can call on to help you with that, to manage these times so that you don't give up on your goals because we know that that's the last thing you want to be doing, right?
Yeah,
You've created
sure.
these goals for a reason. You want to achieve something. You don't just make up goals for the sake of it. You're ready for a change or you do want something more or you've dreamed up an end goal that is really, really important to you and you know deep down that you really want to get there.
Yeah.
So you need to make it happen. And it's these types of techniques and creating these new systems and making yourself accountable and, setting up your environment for success. It's these things that will help you get there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So we hope that some of those tips that we use and I've used with clients can really, I hope you've taken something today that you can build into your life to help you stay motivated, or even when you go, right, I'm going to start achieving that goal.
Yeah.
Work out, create the plan of what you're going to do to stay motivated, to stay accountable, to stay what the support system you need around you and what positive influences in your life are you going to use to keep yourself on track.
Yeah. Be prepared for it.
We'd love to hear. So please, message us, or there's plenty of ways you can contact us nowadays. So email us, or we'd love to hear and be able to share some stories about what you took out of this podcast episode and what you're going to implement into your life.
Yeah, we want to know how people are applying these techniques to their real life.
Yeah.
Because everyone's example is different, but if you can hear people achieving from the techniques, then there are ways that you can implement it in your own life.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And we really just want to say thank you to everyone for listening today. And please remember to subscribe to this podcast. Please leave us a rating and a review. It makes such a big difference to getting our message out to the women in the world that we want to reach and get us closer to making confidence every woman's new normal. Or you can head over to risewomen.com and look up all the resources and programs we have that can help you build your confidence. And until next time, remember, with confidence, anything is possible. So bye for now.
Bye.